The year is 2011, and Kirby's Return to Dreamland was just released on the Nintendo Wii. Boy howdy, did this game go through production hell. Development for this game started in 2000, right after Kirby 64 came out, and it was slated to actually come out for the GameCube. When developing for this game, they really wanted to have the focus be to create an amazing multiplayer experience. There were three concepts that the team ended up trying to go for. The first concept being another 2.5D platformer along the same vein as Kirby 64, just with a multiplayer focus. The second concept being a fully 3D game with fully explorable levels, which they used as the concept behind Kirby and the Forgotten Land way down the line. And then the third concept was another 2D platformer, but this time in the style of a pop-up book, which seems similar-ish to Kirby's Epic Yarn. This game was in development for so long that gaming publications such as Nintendo Power and Official Nintendo Magazine assumed that the game was just outright cancelled. But in the year 2011, like a phoenix rising up from the grave, Kirby's Return to Dreamland was shown off at E3. Will the development time be worth it, or will it fall into the depths of its development hell? Let's find out. It's a typical day on the planet Popstar. Kirby is trying to eat cake, King Dedede and Bandanity are trying to steal it from him, and Meta Knight is just reading a book, letting it all happen. Interesting how the one being the least physically active right now is the one that tried to take over Dreamland for being lazy. I don't hate Meta Knight, he's actually my favorite character in the franchise, I just like making fun of him. All of a sudden, a giant spaceship falls out of the sky and crash lands onto the ground. Kirby and the others investigate and find inside is a hurt alien named Magolor. Magolor does a diagnostic on the ship, known as the Lore Star Cutter, and finds that a bunch of the parts, as well as 120 energy spheres, are missing from the ship. Kirby and the others agree to help Magolor so that he can get back home. As thanks, Magolor promises that he'll give them a tour of his home planet, Halcandra, when the ship is fixed. Once Kirby and the others find all of the parts of the ship, they start their trek towards Halcandra so Magolor can keep his promise. When they get there, the Lore Star Cutter gets shot down once again by a crowned four-headed dragon named Landia. Kirby and the others decide to go and defeat Landia so he can stop terrorizing Halcandra, and once they do, they celebrate their victory. Magolor then shows up, clapping and congratulating the gang and helping him towards his quest of universal domination. Magolor takes the crown from Landia and powers up significantly. He reveals that Landia is the one who shot his ship down because he was trying to get the Master Crown. When Kirby and the others showed up, he came up with the nefarious plan to trick Kirby and the others into defeating Landia for him so that his domination could be assured. As thanks, Magolor decides to take over Popstar first. Kirby and the others ride Landia to chase after Magolor and end up shooting down the Lore Star Cutter in the process, right after we just spent all this time fixing it. After that, Kirby and the others fight Magolor one-on-one. During the battle, Magolor ends up going mad with power from the crown. I would ask if this is a soul form, but trust me, we'll get there. After Magolor's defeat, the dimension they are in starts to crumble. At the last second, Landia and the Lore Star Cutter burst in and fly Kirby and the others all the way back home to live out their days as usual. What a return to form. Honestly, Magolor is probably the best Kirby villain since Zero. He was really good at being the character that helped Kirby out for the whole game, just to turn on him in the end. The only unfortunate thing I can say with this story, however, is that unfortunately, I saw the Magolor twist coming from a mile away. Things in the story were going too swimmingly, and there was a lack of a villain character throughout the whole game. The other thing, Magolor kinda looks like Marx. Of course, having visual similarities doesn't mean that both characters are evil, but apparently these visual similarities were what they were going for, because look at this boss fight and tell me it doesn't look similar to the Marx boss fight from Kirby Superstar and Superstar Ultra. I like this game's story though. It's not too complex, but has that Kirby charm that I've been striving for. Villains like Dark Nebula and Dark Mind were villains that came and went with no fanfare and barely any story relevance whatsoever. It's nice that Magolor was so tied into the story of the game. With all of that in mind, Kirby's Return to Dreamland story gets an A+. I know I sound like a broken record, but the gameplay of Kirby's Return to Dreamland is your standard Kirby fare. You run, you jump, you eat, you copy. This game only introduces 2 new gameplay elements to the standard Kirby formula. Firstly, there is the multiplayer aspect. Just like in Kirby Superstar, where the second player can play as the helper, they evolved upon this concept to allow second, third, and fourth players to play as Kirby's friends. The other players have the choice to play as Meta Knight, who has a permanent sword ability, King Dedede, who has a permanent hammer ability, and Bandana D, who has a permanent spear ability. Let me tell you that playing this game multiplayer is really fun, and leads to a lot of chaotic screaming among you and your friends. For the single player experience though, there's also these super abilities which give Kirby crazy huge power-ups that allow him to find entrances to another dimension to get the energy spheres from the Sphere Doomers. Other than that, it's what you'd expect from Kirby. The game is solid, being what you'd expect out of a Kirby title, but the super ability system, not gonna lie, is kinda lame after a while. The first time you get each ability, it's cool to see what the ability is, how it works, and how to find the secret entrances to the Sphere Doomers. After a while though, it just becomes a slow set piece that, though visually interesting, is kinda a slog to play. It's not really incorporated into the gameplay seamlessly enough for me to really enjoy it. Every time it appears, you know there's going to be a secret entrance to the Sphere Doomers, and every time that part of the level is tailor-made for that ability. There is no point where the super abilities just exist in a normal level. It would have been cool if it were a reward for finding a super hard and super fast enemy that you could defeat and get the super ability. I'm not saying it's bad, but it could be improved upon. With all of that in mind, I give Kirby's Return to Dreamland's gameplay my rating of a B+. The perfect way to describe Kirby's Return to Dreamland's presentation is to say it is the next logical step to that of Kirby 64's. It maintains the same 2.5D art style that Kirby 64 had, and really likes to revel in its spark, shimmer, and particle effects. This is a very flashy game, especially when you get the super abilities. The only thing that is kinda missed, and from what I know of future games, will continue to be non-existent in the Kirby franchise for a while, is the type of movement you saw in Kirby 64. Kirby 64 has a very circular type of level philosophy. That way, each part of the level doesn't feel like a flat board of an obstacle course. It feels like a 3D environment. This game does not do this, and opts for the flat board type of obstacle course that 2D Kirby games typically have. Nothing wrong with it, it's just an aesthetic choice that I kinda miss. The music is your typical Kirby music. Pretty good. Not many standout tracks that I can think of, but am I the only one who thinks the song that plays right before bosses sounds like Ridley's theme? With all of that in mind, Kirby's Return to Dreamland's presentation gets my rating of a B. To complete Kirby's Return to Dreamland, you must complete the story and collect all 120 energy spheres. You must also do the same exact thing with the extra mode. There aren't many differences between extra mode and normal mode other than Kirby's health being cut in half, and also boss battles being replaced with EX versions. I was definitely not expecting these EX versions of the boss battles to be so different from their original versions. Some boss battles included having exclusive moves, and hell, the Metal Guardian boss has a whole third and fourth phase. I think this is the first time I can safely say that an extra mode was worth actually playing through for this reason alone. You must also get all 120 energy spheres in the extra mode. I could be wrong, but I'm 90% sure all of the energy spheres are in the same locations in both playthroughs. After that, you must also do all of the copy ability challenges. Thankfully, it is not necessary for you to get the gold medals, just as long as you get a bronze medal, it counts. Once all that is done, you must beat the arena and the true arena. The arena in this game has all of the bosses from the normal mode, and the true arena has all of the EX bosses from the extra mode, plus a hidden boss. That hidden boss is Galactonite from Kirby Superstar Ultra. That was an amazing surprise, and that remix, Holy shit! The reward you get for completing all of this is a crown on the save file and a bonus cutscene that shows Kirby, King Dedede, Meta Knight, Bandana D, and Kirby doing a huge performance of the Kirby dance. It's cute and fun to see Kirby get a cameo in this game. The Galactonite fight in the True Arena was also a huge treat. I would definitely recommend completing this game. There is enough extra content where it doesn't feel like a huge cumbersome task to finish it all. Hell, get that crown percent. Kirby's Return to Dreamland is 100% what it says on the box. It feels like a return to form. It's strange. The Kirby formula never really diverged that much in the mainline games. The most experimental one was Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, but a lot of Kirby games lately have had the same run, jump, eat, copy gameplay. I guess there was a lot of experimental spin-offs coming out as of late, like Canvas Curse, Epic Yarn, and Mass Attack, but I think it's the tone and feel of this game that feels more so like the return to form. The return of a focus on the story of Kirby games. I guarantee you, years from now, I will remember Magolor way more than villains like Dark Nebula. With a great story, solid gameplay, and solid presentation, Kirby's Return to Dreamland was definitely a great Kirby game. With all of that in mind, Kirby's Return to Dreamland gets my overall rating of a B+. Just below the level of the classics, but still a solid entry. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoy the new format of the retrospectives. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. All the social media are in the description below, so check them out as well. We also got merch in the description. Next week, we'll be looking at the next Kirby game in the lineup, Kirby's Triple Deluxe. But if you're too impatient to wait a week, you can become a channel member and watch it right now. I'm Bottles, and I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.